Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and I'm back with more comics for my spinner rack. I've been away for a while, and if you read my post, my mother passed away about a week ago, and I was up there a week prior when her health was going down hill, and she died peacefully overnight, with morphine, and that she was 89 years old, and her mind was sharp as ever. It's just the body gave out. It happens. And I hate to put it so, casually, but I'm coming to terms with it. For now, maybe I'll. It comes in. It's still so new to me, is what it is. It's like in my mind, I'm thinking, I call my mom twice a day, and when, around lunchtime or around 7 p.m., I think, I better call her. And now it's weird because even after my mom passed, I thought, I got to tell my mom about this. And I'm like, it's just the way you get wired after a while. So let's talk about something fun. Comic books. Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman was a character that I first saw in Marvel 2-in-1. And she was an ongoing storyline in England that was taking place in Marvel 2-in-1, several issues in a row, which I kind of liked when Marvel 2-in-1 would do that. But towards the end, they did like single issues. So, Spider-Woman, I remember buying the first issue, and at the time, I was buying every Marvel first issue, and there weren't that many titles back then either. So, what happened was, I just collected first issues. I collected anniversary issues, like issue 50. For some reason, I ignored this, but like if it was even Conan, like 150 or 200, and I never read Conan, but I got those issues, and it wasn't an investment thing. It was just a collecting thing, but it also helped. I remember buying Micronauts 1, great Cockrum cover, really neat interiors by Michael Golden, and it was so alien to so many things I'd seen in the Marvel style, and I thought, I don't know, but I saw the second issue's cover where they're running away from riding a push mower that this teenage kid is going after him, and wow, that just sucked me in. And I had the fortune of telling Michael Golden this a few years back when I bought some prints from him at a show. And he was like, really? So I said, yeah. So we both kept talking like that the rest of the day. So anyway, Spider-Woman #1, it was by Marv Wolfman and Carmen Infantino, and I didn't care for it. At this point, I've said before, I'm being unfair to Carmen Infantino. He was the shit in the Silver Age. His stuff was beautiful, and his stuff continued to be beautiful for a very long time. But it's weird, after Spider-Man vs. Superman, the very first Treasury edition, where Carmen Infantino was the publisher and Stan Lee was a publisher, like less than a year later, all of a sudden Infantino's drawing for Marvel. I don't know why they would shit-can Infantino after he just delivered them this huge Treasury edition. Part of it, I don't know if there was just so much going on. I never really asked. I don't want to give any insult to his memory as to why that happened, but he went over to Marvel, and some stuff I liked that he did, and some stuff I really did not like. He was, I'll be frank, it was kind of past his peak, and I felt also, just like I feel John Byrne is generally a Marvel artist, I thought of Carmen Infantino as a DC artist, because when he came back and did, there was a chapter in Justice League 100 where Elongated Man and the Flash fought, and he was drawn by Infantino. It was great. I mean, it was his best stuff in a long time. So, and he stayed on the book until the last issue of the Barry Allen Flash in '85, I think it was. So, I didn't care. I didn't keep the book going. And Marv Wolfman, I always liked his plotting, but his plots were great. But I really found his scripts to be kind of not that great. And also very samey. So I picked up that first issue, and I was like, oh, okay. Didn't pick up the second. And later on, I was getting the habit of buying anniversary books like, 50th anniversary, or 100, or even Conan Barbarian, number 200. I didn't even like the book. I wasn't even a Barbarian fan. I was just a geek. So, last issue. And this is an early photo cover that it's done pretty well. It's a little clunky, but there was no Photoshop back then. You took photos, you took illustrations, or you combine them. It was back a very laborious process. So somebody posed for Spider-Woman here, and probably for Gypsy Moth, and definitely some of these guys here. And they've got you get photo stats, and you put them on different layers of film, and the credits are interesting. It's Elliot Brown, who on the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, he was the genius behind doing cutaway views of machinery of all these gadgets in Marvel, from like the Fantastic Car to the Captain America, the Avengers Quinjet, to Stiltman's legs, and they had plausibility, which was great. Now the touch-up that makes all this come together is Bob Larkin. He did fantastic covers for Marvel for like 1977 to 1980, I think. He did covers for a lot of those Origins of Marvel Comics books. There were a few. There was an Incredible Hulk one. There was Captain America one. He also did a bunch of paperbacks that had reprints of earlier comics. So, was it a success? I think it was a 1980s success, and it's fun. So, well, here we go. Ann Nocenti, scripter. Now, she was very new at Marvel at this time. Someone had said supposedly she worked front desk, but she also did writing. She had I don't know if it was a journalism background, or she wasn't a neophyte trying to write. She knew how to write, but she wanted to get herself more of an understanding of how comic books, or specifically superhero comics, which was dominating the day, how they worked. And she became an assistant editor on X-Men, no less. And then I think she became an editor on several of the X titles. And she did a lot of miniseries in the 80s. But the main achievement was in 88, I think, or 87. She started writing Daredevil again, or Daredevil, with John Romita Jr. on the art, and they redefined Daredevil for years, because you had the Frank Miller, took over everything. It became Daredevil, Frank Miller, the same thing. It was great. I loved it. I loved Born Again and all that, but there was a couple of wilderness years between then and the Nocenti Romita Jr. era, but it brought back Marvel in Daredevil in a whole different style. And that's cool. It's like Daredevil's the kind of character that you could do that with if you if you think of a different approach. So starts off with the nightmare that I am not like nowadays. If I see a nightmare sequence at the beginning, it really puts me off, because later on, like Chris Claremont did a whole bunch of them right before issue 200 of X-Men. He did like 3 consecutive issues that started with dream sequences or nightmare sequences, and I kind of feel like that's a lazy start, So, but again, I'm saying Ann Nocenti was new at this. But on the other hand, her stuff was very literate, and it wasn't written with the same old Marvel cliches. It wasn't like, you hit the nail on the proverbial head, and cut like a hot knife through butter. It's like she avoided all those cliches that were so prominent in the 70s to the point of ridiculousness. So she gets locked up. Long story. There's a guy named Locksmith. He's got a lot of her cast and characters of the past 2 years or so. It's a nice spread there. And it basically goes into a story. I am bitter, so I shall lock everybody out. And this is nice here with the black around to give that claustrophobic feel, especially with Daddy Longlegs, who he very much looks like a Bill Sienkiewicz type character with the exaggerated features. It's Brian Postman on the art, and I don't recall what else he's done. I know his name, but I don't know it negatively, so that's a good thing. So Shroud's just trying to beat the shit out of his metallic what do you call those things? things are holding him up. His so this is one guy who's telekinesis, and he's kind of drugged up, and he's kind of not up to breaking out of the cage. So everybody starts yelling at him. They say, "You good for nothing wimp, you ruin lives, you're a coward, a nutso runaway psycho." So it gets this guy all fired up, and he bursts free. And there's Gypsy Moth, another character I really liked. I wish I had done more with. So they decide to switch costumes, and it's I don't know why they get back in the cages. Don't ask me why. It's a lot going on, and it actually does make sense. But for me to tell you, it would take another 10 minutes and 54 seconds. So, but it's the old locksmith returned us to the wrong cages, not designed to stifle our specific powers. So there we go. Usually guys do that. Usually the guys would be like, "Hey, let's switch costumes. Let's get our underwear and put on something else." It's like, I don't know if that's going to fit me. So I love that page. Love that. Really nice art. Brian Postman's doing good stuff. And Anna Senti, she, this seems like a lot of gobbledygook, but she's putting a lot of existentialism in it, and a lot of, I guess you would call it like mythical or some kind of cosmic something or other. But, she's just horrible. She's having a really hard time. Because Morgan Le Fay is a foe of hers. So she made a foe of Morgan Le Fay, who was the magic, the evil queen, and you don't want to make an enemy of hers. What I really like, I don't know if this was a Postman thing or what, but her wings there used to be much shorter, and she glided. She could still glide, but I love the longer spider webs, especially there. That's great with that little. That's really clever. So there's Morgan Le Fay. This is one of those anniversary issues that really shuts the door on the character. And her spirit, she's trying to re-inhabit her body, much like Doctor Strange does with his astral spirit. It's dead. My body's dead. I'm dead. Buy yourself some gum while you're reading this. And she's sort of getting this is the way it is now. You can't return to your body. And according to magic, that she never existed. So all these characters that she knew and loved or hated or whatever are no longer around. And the coloring is great. So understated, It goes, "Time to go, Spiderwoman. I know, one last look. Goodbye, life. You were pretty good to me. Life is good and then you die. I can accept that. Spirit realm, huh? Things I've never seen before? Like what? You'll see. We profoundly regret to inform you that this is the last issue of Spider-Woman." This is weird. I did buy this the last week or so when my mother passed away, and it really, I have such mixed emotions about this. I mean, it was almost calming. It's like Anna Senti, as new as she was, she knew how the reader would feel about certain things, and maybe she lost someone in her life that she cared for, or maybe not. But a beautiful, beautiful ending to a character I'd previously not cared about. But she appeared a year or two later in Avengers, written by Roger Stern and drawn by Al Milgrom. So, Daredevil and the Deadliest Side of My Life by Harlan Ellison and Arthur Byron cover. So it's just one of those random Harlan Ellison stories that comes up. I mean, he did some stuff in the 70s. It's kind of a kink there, but who cares? Oh, it's a Mad Fold-In. So, not really, but you have this new guy, David Mazzucchelli, inked by Danny Bullinati, who I've given him grief before, but depending on the penciler, he does a great job. And his best stuff, I think, was on Paul Ryan and Fantastic Four in the 90s. They were a great team. So he sees this little kid in trouble, and the snow is screwing up the radar sense that Daredevil has, and he can't read her heartbeat. And she runs down a very Gene Colan type panel. You'll notice the first year or so of Dave Mazzucchelli, I've done it on another episode, he really draws from Gene Colan, but without any tracing, I don't even know if he uses photographs. He just has that natural drawing skill. I love how the body's sticking out of the panel at the bottom. And he finds out it's a robot about to go off. Tick, 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 boom, baroom. And now, get this. Mazzucchelli's a new kid on the block, Besides knowing his anatomy, that's a lot. Because a lot of new kids are shitty at anatomy and they just kind of grow into it. But back then, you kind of had to know the rules before you break them. So I love this. Is a very Gene Colan kind of fantasy sequence. Very cool. And there's a lot going on here. And he's crossing the quicksand. What do I remember of quicksand? Yeah, I remember. Lie as flat as you can and swim out of it to show your tuchas, your red tuchas. So he made it. What's funny is there's a comedian who made a joke about quicksand. He said, watching cartoons and, funny movies and that from the old days gave me an unnatural fear of quicksand. Like it was everywhere. And I felt the same way. I thought it'd be like quicksand everywhere. So, man. Amazing stuff there. And now, here, I'm talking, new kid on the block. Things are rough. As far as this storyline is so demanding. It really is demanding. So much stuff going on. And here we go. The blades come on. And he's going to get squished. But he manages to use them as stepping stones. Very Frank Miller type page. Except, I don't know. It's great. So he finally gets into a wall. And he goes, backstage is where you always find the master puppeteer. Cables, conduits, switching equipment. Feel all the power. Makes my hair itch. Control alley. Oh, every bone in my body aches. Think I discovered it. I dislocated my hip, and when I punch through, at least I'm safe in a neural zone for the moment. So he's listening. And I love that. Deafening noise. Just so much going on. It's crazy. And there is the roof. He gets out on the roof, little inset panel. Wow. And Bulinati, to his credit, really makes it work great. I love those silent panels. Now, can you imagine, you're a new comics guy, and you have to do all this crazy shit. It's not just a police chase. And all this stuff is overwhelming him, and he thinks back to Stick. I didn't forget. So he goes into an he clears his head as he was taught, gets out, finds out Deathstalker of all people, which I did an episode on him way back early in the channel over a year ago. It turned out that she was his mother. My dear boy, he wouldn't hurt anybody. He wouldn't stalk or kill or anybody. So it was a way to pay him back. She was just this crazed old rich gal who, nice little house ad by Bill Sienkiewicz. He gets out and he thinks, I'm safe. And you see the little dollies there with the robo dollies. Zoom in. Yeah, nice little touch. Great stuff. Really, really good. And now we go to Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing, and Ant-Man. I was buying Marvel 2-in-1. My first issue was number 7 with the Valkyrie, and that was excellent. And I immediately fell in love with The Thing. I saw him in the Fantastic Four, and he is just the best made for comic book superhero. And now with what we're seeing in the teaser trailers of the new FF movie, they finally figured out how to animate him and make him interact naturally around other characters instead of, so Ant-Man, it's not Henry Pym, This is the new Ant-Man who was brought back in Marvel Premiere 47 and 48, I think, which was co-created the new character Scott Lang, who took over the uniform. David Michelini and Bob Layton, and it was illustrated by John Byrne. So made Ant-Man kind of a little bit of a hit. He didn't really show up anywhere else aside from mostly Iron Man, but he would be in Marvel Team Up also. He would show up in Avengers here and there, not as an official Avenger, but just he would pitch in here and there. So this book, I was buying it. It was really, really good for a long, long time. And then around issue run 70 or so, the book was starting to suffer. But I managed to get all the back issues, and I was collecting in order to collect them. So, and there were a lot of stinkers, but this I liked. It stands out. It's a year before it gets canceled. It was issue 87, and they canceled it with issue 100, so 13 months. You got Ron Wilson, Chick Stone, and it starts off like every other FF type story where the Thing is trying to help Reed with some new gadgets. And it's funny because like from issue to issue, just like with Kirby, you never have to redo the gadgets. It's like Reed just has all kinds of crazy Kirby-esque tech all over the place. So, and it's okay. It's like Chick Stone. I sort of would almost love it if he went back to his like 60s stuff where he made the real thick lines and just the crazy pop art type style. But you know, he's doing it more straightforward like a lot of other artists, and it's okay. I mean, it's solid. I like it. You know, and the thing is that 9-panel grids and 6-panel grids are the order of the day at this period for Ron Wilson. I have no knowledge of this, but I know, you know, great artists like, I think Shooter played favorites for some artists. You know, it's like Bill Sienkiewicz managed to do his crazy Primal Scream shit that nobody else would touch. Walt Simonson totally reinvented Thor in the best possible way. So many others, you know, John Byrne, he had pretty much carte blanche to do anything with the FF. But then there were other artists who were maybe, I don't know if he intended to just go this way, but I'm reminded how Jim Shooter at this time, he was enamored with doing simple mid-sized panels. And if you remember, like Secret Wars, when it started off so huge and grand with Mike Zeck and John Beatty, and later on you just saw a lot of, you know, figures like this big. It lacked the Marvel style, and became simplistic. So I think that's why this run is poorly remembered. But this one stands out because Ant-Man. And he finds out that deep in Subatomica, which became the Microverse later on, the Thing's kind of loving it. He's like, hey, I'm a king. Rum, 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 rum. So he's real laugh rescue. And something feels wrong. This woman comes along at Kirby Scout. It's not Kala from the old Iron Man issues. It is Perla. Ruler of the Underworld. At least this section of it. But I'm digging it. You know, I really liked it. The story stood out. There were a lot of stories that did not stand out, that were just dreadful. You get sort of a Planet Hulk thing going on, although I'm certain this had no influence on Planet Hulk. I'm just coming up with something to. But you see how far everything away. It's like there's none of that John Buscema, coming at you type stuff that Ron Wilson used to do on the first run of Marvel 2-in-1. So good story. It's solid. You know, it's not like an award-winning book, but it's fun. Now we go to the Saga of the Submariner. I've complained in the past how much I didn't like Submariner for so long, and I always thought it was because, you know, he's just a guy in swim trunks and ankle wings. I thought that was really dumb, but it wasn't until I got to really read the Bill Everett stuff, the original stuff, and then the Kirby stuff that he did, that I really understood the appeal of Submariner. I think because early on his book had been canceled. He was in Superman and Team Up, and he acted like a jerk like throughout the whole thing. Him and Doom both. And also, I got Bring On the Bad Guy. No, not Bring On the Fireside book that was called Marvel's Greatest Superhero Battles. And it had Iron Man versus Submariner, and the first 10-page story from Tales of Suspense is Iron Man's weak, his heart, and then Namor shows up at the end because Iron Man was fighting Lord Krang, who brought his big old boat up on the surface, and he fought. So he's like, "Where's Krang?" He starts beating tar out of Iron Man while he's helpless, and I'm like, "What a low-life dirtbag!" And then later on, towards the end of that issue, Iron Man, he gets his juice back on, and he's ready to go. And next issue, he beats the crap out of Namor. They're actually quite evenly matched until Namor realized he was wrong. There's Krang over there. Okay, see ya. No apology. So that's why I didn't like him. But over the years, that was a long time ago. This 12-issue series is really interesting. It's been collected in trade paperback, and I didn't really read all the issues because a lot of it is just like a retelling, and the early stuff without the Bill Everett art just didn't grab me. Bill Everett I came to love later on, and this is by Rich Buckler and Bob McLeod. During Shooter's run, I don't think Buckler did hardly anything. He moved over to Red Circle to do, he did the Mighty Crusaders and all that stuff, and it didn't work out, but whatever. He also did a lot of indie stuff. What's weird about this, though, definitely going for a Neil Adams feel on Justice Figure, is he's shooting way up there, and it's almost like Submariner should be in front of that beam, or else he's like waiting for Submariner to fly into it, but he's not. He's coming this way. Little nagging thing, but and what's interesting also is it's written by Roy and Dan Thomas. A lot of these people, after Shooter left, it's just any changing of the guard, you'll get people who leave, you get people who stay. And Roy Thomas returned with his wife Dan, who was a co-writer at this time in the 80s. And Rich Buckler came back. And Bob McLeod has always been there. I always want to call him McLeod, but I know that's not that. And what's interesting, I keep saying what's interesting, I hope it's interesting for me to keep repeating it, is that it's not your typical Buckler stuff. It's not like your, where he does Kirby-type poses and does, it's just a straightaway style, but it's solid and it looks good because Bob McLeod's inking it. And I bought this one issue because of all the guest stars. There's a ton of guest stars, and Roy Thomas brilliantly, though, puts together the whole timeline. That's why it's a 12-issue miniseries of Submariner. Can you imagine somebody trying to publish that now and see if people will stay for the whole 12 issues? Because there's a lot of issues with no guest stars, and that's what kind of put me off, because I just don't find him visually interesting. But this art here, great stuff. So I like that. Check that out. A little tiny bit of Zipatone goes a long way. Long way. So there's an era where, the FF help Namor fight Atuma. And also shortly thereafter, with Avengers 16, when the Avengers, some of them are leaving, they want to get new members, so they run into Submariner. They try and talk to him, renounce your dreams of conquest and become an Avenger. Renounce my claim, never. So that was, and it's like, Roy, he must have this graph in his head. Right after that, there's a panel from Daredevil 7, baby. He wants to file a counter charge against the entire human race because he believes he should own the surface as well as, I think that's what it is. Hold on, let me start over. Bear with me a second. Soon afterward, upon my urgings of the warlord Krang, I decided to press Atlantis' claim upon the Earth Breathers in a most unusual manner. So, but he gets free. Daredevil shows up. Wally would swipe panels, but they're really not swipe panels. And hold on a second. a lot of. I mean, but it's beautiful. So you got like a lot of guest stars here. So that's what. And this is the 3-part saga where he started beating up a helpless Iron Man, and then shortly after they get into Tales to Astonish number 100, which was gloriously drawn by Marie Severin. I recommend that too. You'll have to check that out on my channel. I can't remember if it's just my channel or the other one. It's just called Drew Drazy. So, you get a lot for your money there. Now, this is running a lot longer. I'm out of practice. I just got a lot to say. Well, Secret Origins starring Justice League America has a nice cover. It's plotted by Keith Giffen, who is doing the new Justice League. It's scripted by Peter David and penciled by Eric Shanower. And what I love about Eric Shanower's stuff is I first saw he did a fill-in issue of Nexus number 17, and he did an admirable job filling in for the dude Steve Rude. But he went on and did a bunch of graphic novels that were based on The Wizard of Oz. And there were so many other novels that were written about the land of Oz, and he did graphic novels. That was his passion. But here's his, stepping into regular superheroes proper. Really, really cool because it almost like it kind of fits with Maguire's style, that open, clean style. So now here's the thing. What is wrong with this picture? Well, Wonder Woman is supposed to be here, but it's Black Canary. And there's a reason for that. But you youngins may not know. So, because in the first appearance in Brave and the Bold 28, Wonder Woman was a member. Everybody but Batman and Superman was a member because they probably had 2 or 3 titles already. So they replaced her. This happened after Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was really cool. But then the 12 issues were really great. Marv Wolf and George Perez, the new Teen Titans team back together. Really good stuff. But then they started new origins, like new makeovers. You had John Byrne doing Superman. You had, let me see, Batman, I can't remember if they did anything major with it. They did a lot of stuff like Dark Knight Strikes and all that on the side, but I think they left Batman alone for a while because he didn't really have a complex history of his own. But a lot of stuff like Flash, later on was Wally West. I'm trying to think, Hawkman, they had Hawk World, which was done magnificently by Tim Truman, but it made no sense in the rest of the DC universe. And these books were all coming out at different times, and there was a lot of confusion. Like Hawkworld almost immediately got, taken out of canon because they brought back Hawkman as he was. So in this makeover, there was no Wonder Woman because George Perez was on the cusp of writing and drawing a revival of Wonder Woman with issue 1. He did it for years. He drew for like the first 2 years, wrote the first 3 or 4 years, and then I think it was William Mesner Loebs who took over, and it lasted. I mean, so they needed someone else, so this was a reboot. You got Black Canary instead, which at the time really bugged me. And also, another time, as a long-time reader, issue 17 or so of the new Justice League, you have Superman about to land on a rooftop, and Batman's sitting there, and he's all gloomy, and his cape's doing all his flapping, and he says, "I'd like to invite you to the League," and Superman's like, "Oh, I'm really honored, but I can't." Blah 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 blah, and it was weird. It's like Superman being invited to the Justice League is so out of order. I mean, schedule-wise, continuity-wise, but this is a new continuity. There were other things that got screwed up. It was really the first time in a long time that a mass company-wide reboot was done. I mean, back in the Silver Age, you had the Flash, and you had Flash of Two Worlds introduced the Earth 2 and multiple Earths idea. So now this artwork is really, really great stuff. Eric Shanover is just, I love the coloring too. These are meteors. They are meteors that have, that are self-aware. So Keith Giffen plot, Peter David dialogue, Eric Shanover art, Gasper Van Stalador, I think his name was, letterers, Mark Wade editor, Gene D'Angelo colors, Garner Fox story. So, hey, they're up front. They're saying this is pretty much verbatim with the exception of Wonder Woman being Black Canary. I'm going to pull this in because the line work is so tight and so beautiful. And that Gene D'Angelo and the colors just really knocks it out of the park. Really appealing. And I'm really glad that for the most part the printing is okay on this, because it's really tricky. Big old cuddly rock. So they all fight their different characters. There's Aquaman, never looked better. It's a beautiful picture. He fights this Mercury creature, and he commands the fish to. He sees a whirlpool. He says, "Come on, fish, do your thing," and it dissipates. That is so gorgeous. Look at that. Hang on. The face and the body language and everything is just so perfect. So, but yeah, if you're a fan of the Land of Oz and all those other Oz books, I really recommend them. Black Canary, so expressive, and it's interesting because this came out at the same time, well, shortly after the new JLA or Justice League with Guy Gardner and Dr. Fate. So it's like a perfect, it's a perfect art-wise, a perfect accompaniment to the new series. So love that. So she shatters that. Shadoobie goes the glass. I love that. I tell you, whoa. Green Lantern. Wow. Man, this is so. It had to be yellow, right? Back when he had the yellow impurity in his ring. Good stuff. You get the Flash. I mean, does it get any better than this? That's just great stuff. And the tree creatures come along, and it turns the Justice League into trees, which is a panel or even a cover, I think, where the very first members of the Justice League get turned into trees. I feel like such a sap. That's Peter David dialogue. Having fun. So she does her screaming thing. Flash goes crazy, chops him up. Ow, 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 ow. That's perfect. Because he doesn't have like metal hands. He's like just going fast and it hurts like an MFer. So, and let me see. Yeah, see they got more of these Justice League Origins coming up too. Well, there we go. We need. That's what I thought. We should call ourselves Justice Society 2. We need something more contemporary, catchier, something like the Avengers. Nah, people would confuse us with those other guys, John Steed and Emma Peel. But I like Justice in the name. Okay, how about the hang on, everybody. Justice League of America. All right, you sold us. Now, only one thing I'm wondering is, do you think anyone else will want to join? Perfect ending. Perfect ending. So, really recommend this. I got this for like $3, I think, at Fan of the Attic in Monroeville, and it's worth reading. And you may not even know about it if you're a Justice League fan, because it was kind of a one-off by itself as a team book. So that's it, everybody. I hope you liked this episode. Please add any comments below. Please hit like. And if you know somebody that might like this stuff, please, by all means, share with a friend and leave comments below. I delete no comments because I don't know everything. And also, I love to learn stuff from my viewers, And we're all in this together. We're all big. Picture this as like a tree house with comic books. And it's you and me and our pals just hanging out. That's the way I look at it. That's why I take no advertising on my channel. I have no interest in interrupting. If you're enthused and stuff, you don't want to see an insurance commercial cut in the middle of a story. Blah 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 blah. It's been a while, definitely. God, I'm going over 40 minutes with this, but anyway, my name is Drew Dracy, and I'm back. And thank you very much for watching and all the well-wishing of the past week or so. And I'll be back before you know it. All right, take care. Love y'all.